to the Middle East, and according to Houthi-run state media, at least 68 African migrants have been killed in a US airstrike. The strikes took place at a detention centre in Saada, Yemen. The attack, which also left 47 others critically injured, according to local media, targeted a facility holding over 100 migrants. Many of the affected are from Ethiopia and Somalia. The Houthis have condemned the strike as a war crime. The US military has not yet commented, but this incident comes amid ongoing US operations against Houthi forces. These attacks have been intensifying since March. Humanitarian groups, including the International Organization for Migration, have expressed deep concern over the devastating impact on vulnerable migrants. Thousands of people from the Horn of Africa continue to risk dangerous journeys through Yemen, often ending up in overcrowded detention centres under harsh conditions. Well, joining us to discuss these reported strikes is Adrian Calamel, a terrorism scholar and fellow at the Arabian Peninsula Institute, who's joining us from New York. Adrian, thank you as always for being here with us. We've heard reports of this deadly strike on a detention centre. Is this just a big US mistake?
Thank you for having me. Good to see you again, Joshua. Good evening to all your viewers. I think we really need to wait for the reports to come out. We have to look where the strike was. That was up in Saada. That's where the Houthis are from. That's Houthi-controlled area. If you look back on Monday, there was a strike at the Farwa market in Sana'a that killed 40, and the Houthis were blaming it on the United States. That turned out to be an errant Houthi missile that hit that market. And then the Houthis were arresting any locals who were filming the damage to show. So I think we really need to wait for the intelligence to come out on this. The United States, if they made a mistake on this, they will come forward and say, yeah, we made a mistake. But I think we need to exercise some restraint in blaming the United States for this right away, because it very well could be a Houthi misfire. And this has happened before. They fire their missiles from heavily populated areas. They also control missile factories and whatnot inside heavily controlled areas. And I also want to mention that one of the top Houthi officials in this strike, I don't know if this is the cover up for this, the announcement of hitting this migrant camp, but one of the top Houthi officials in that area in Saada, I believe the governor, and if you want to say governor, he's a military leader who controls the area. He was eliminated. So there's mixed reporting on a lot of things, but the Houthis, they had to know that they got away with this for a year of firing missiles with impunity, and now war has come back to them. They started this war, and now they're facing the reprisals. Not the reprisals, but it's really freedom of navigation, and the Houthis have really put the Yemeni people into basically bondage and hostage the way they have kept them.
Yes, Adrian, I do want to touch a little bit more on that, because some of our audience may not be aware of the current situation surrounding the Yemen Houthi rebels. Can you provide us a bit of context on why these US strikes are happening and the wider geopolitical tensions in which the Houthi rebels are involved in?
Yeah, well, this is all great question, Joshua. This is all connected back to Tehran and the Islamic Republic of Iran. We see a two-track here with the Trump administration negotiations around their nuclear program, but you also have a maximum pressure campaign, which is an economic pressure, and then as well as kinetic action around the margins, which is what we saw during the first Trump administration with airstrikes, whether they be in Yemen, whether they be taking out Qasem Soleimani in Baghdad. So we're seeing a continuation of Trump's policy towards the Islamic Republic. Now, the Houthis, prior to October 7th, 2023, not too many people knew who they were. but they are probably one of the greatest successes if you look at proxies for the Islamic Republic. It was a relatively low finance operation that is given them great results if you want to talk about destabilization, threatening international shipping, etc.
Yes, Adrian, thank you very much for providing that context. As we bring an end to this discussion, how do you see the future of this US military action in Yemen taking shape? And is this something that we will see continuing in the coming weeks and months, potentially years?
That is another great question, Joshua. It's hard to predict. There's multiple ways that this can go. We have to remember that the Houthis they're stretched right now. They really have a manpower problem. And one of the biggest crimes that they've committed is recruitment of child soldiers. So there's the option of working with the Southern Transitional Council and sweeping back and pushing the Houthis back up to Saada. But Yemen's been going through decades long of civil war, and the country is really in a difficult state. So you hate to see more bloodshed and more things that can lead to famine and those type of things. But at the same point, we have to understand that the Houthis have put a blanket over the country, over the most important ports of the country, except with the exclusion of Aden. So it's really difficult to say where it's going to go from here. I think, it's going to be from a decade from now, I don't even know what it's going to look like.
Absolutely, Adrian. Thank you very much, as always, for joining us to discuss the ongoing situation in Yemen. We are moving on